Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so we got some Laker news to discuss. The Lakers have made a signing. Dennis Schroeder is going to be returning to the Los Angeles Lakers on a one-year, $2.64 million deal. He put something on his IG, as I always do. I paraphrase. He was essentially saying, not everyone knew the story last year. Last year left a bad taste in his mouth. He wants to come back to LA. Hopefully, Laker Nation supports him all year long. He wants to make things right. I was one of the Laker fans that did know the story. I mean, we covered it very, very closely last year. It was a big, huge ordeal trying to figure out where he was going to be able to go because he was in a weird spot where I've told this story so many times, but Dennis Schroeder essentially was the lockout year. The year after the lockout year, we won the championship. He came in, and the intent was for him to be one of the, starting point guard, hopefully play himself up to a level that would allow him to make some really big money. Unfortunately, he turned down a pretty big deal with the Lakers. I don't remember exactly how high up in the sky it was, but it was above $80 million for multiple years. He did not take that deal and decided to take his chances at free agency. Second half of the season didn't go well for him. He ended up getting hit with health and safety protocol. The team, as he exited the roster, was a certain way. When he came back to the roster, it was entirely different. We had made some moves. Key players had gone down. Some players who were out while he was out, players who were playing while he was playing, had since gotten hurt when he came back and shuffled back in some different players. So the Lakers looked like an entirely different team. He had an entirely different role, and he slumped in that process. And then the season ended. We didn't do very well. He had a bad end to his season and ultimately was a free agent without any suitors to pay him what it is that he was ultimately hoping to make. So he was out of a whole lot of money and now out of a roster spot. So what ended up happening was he had to end up going to Boston because they were literally the only team could afford to take him on their roster at the time. Free agency had dried up throughout the summer that year for him, and he did not have a spot. No suitors willing to take the price tag that he had offered, or anything even close to it. It dried up so much for him, the market did, that he ultimately just had to settle for wherever team would take him, as to which it was the Boston Celtics, who already had a lot of guards in place. Marcus Smart, Peyton Pritchard, I believe, was already, I think that was the year they drafted him. There was another guard there too as well. So it was a lot of players in place, making it so that Dennis Schroeder didn't have the opportunity to show what it is that he needed to show to get the deal that he was hoping to get for that upcoming season, right? Because essentially last year was supposed to be a tryout year for Dennis Schroeder. Get with a team, any team, play starters minutes, and just show that you can get the numbers that you ultimately used to getting back in Atlanta and OKC, and then maybe he can start getting the range of negotiation that he was with the Lakers before he turned that deal down and ultimately everything dried up for him. So it was just a lot of happenstance, a lot of bad luck, a bad strategy on Dennis Schroeder's part in free agency. He bet on himself and he lost. That doesn't happen very often, right? It really doesn't. A lot of times guys bet on themselves and it works out, especially when they're as talented as he is. So what ended up happening there was he ended up starting the season with Boston last season. They ended up trading him to the Rockets. And at the trade deadline, because that's what you do with a guy that you're not intending to sign. As we've always discussed, if you have an expiring contract, it makes a lot of sense to try to recoup something for it. So Boston Celtics, being a win now team, ended up wanting to be in the finals. Of course, they made a move that made their team better and they ended up in the finals. And Dennis Schroeder's value is what helped them get that. Because he was at a small portion of the cap, they were able to trade him for a large return, which was like Daniel Tyson, some other things as well that ultimately made them as deep as they were. And he ends up in Houston in a situation where they're already sitting John Wall, paying John Wall to sit. They didn't need him. They had KPJ, the young point guard, and a bunch of other young players that made it so that Dennis Schroeder's need for playing time was not something that the team needed from him. So it was a situation where he basically wasted a season. A season where he was supposed to be able to play his value up. His value didn't move at all because the very thing that he needed to have happen just happened to not be available to him, which was playing time. So that's the story, essentially. He needs to get back into a situation where he can play enough minutes to show the type of basketball player he is once again, so he can get that value up to a respectable level and get locked in for multiple years at good money. Dennis Schroeder is a very talented basketball player, so it shouldn't be very difficult for us to get the most out of him, especially at $2.6 million. Because of what I already said in regards to what him getting traded in Boston, him at that price for Boston was so very valuable. It kicked them over the hump, in my opinion. The trade they made, because he was at such a wonderful price tag, really did ultimately help them. I think that dynamic is now in place for us. I do believe that. In a much more dynamic way, because I think Dennis Schroeder's at an even better price this season for us. And I think we have more of a role for him than maybe Boston or Houston had last year. So this is the type of move that I've been asking for Rob Pelinka to try to find. We needed to find a way to get extreme amounts of value. It has to balance out what it is that we're dealing with in regards to Russell Westbrook. This is how I'm looking at it. Russell Westbrook is a player playing this season at $47 million. He's not going to give you $47 million worth of basketball, we don't believe. Probably no more than 10 at the very most if he gets back to his level. He can give you $10 million worth of basketball. Because that contract is so lopsided, it takes a lot away from your depth. It takes a lot away from what you can do building a team, etc. That part is very much understood by just about everybody. What Dennis Schroeder does at $2.6 million is kind of give you back a great deal of that value that Russell Westbrook eats away at. Because what you look at is Dennis Schroeder doing the complete opposite. Dennis Schroeder is paying at $2.6 million. He'll probably play up to about $8, $9, $10 million worth of basketball this season, depending on the level of the role that we give him and how healthy he's able to stay. If we play him to the level that he's able to play at, there's no injuries that have taken place over the last 2 years with Dennis Schroeder. Nothing's keeping him from physically being able to be the player he's always been. No knees, nothing. Nothing has happened in his health-wise. In fact, his legs should be fresher because he hasn't played as much basketball. So in my mind, his contract is the great antithesis to Russell Westbrook's contract in terms of what you are expecting from it. It gives us back a great deal of value. In my mind, Russell Westbrook's $47 million contract doesn't look like $47 million to us anymore in the same way. And it's very much hard to explain, but it's very clear in my head because of Dennis's ability to play up his contract to such a massive degree. You know what I mean? Dennis is going to give us 3 times that. You see what I'm saying? And Russell's going to take away 3 times that. So that's how it looks to me. You can do so much with your flexibility now that you have Dennis Schroeder at that basketball level, at that playing price, if that makes any sense. Super value, super duper value. The exact thing you want to look for as a GM in a win now situation without your picks. Dennis Schroeder's value at $2.6 million, if maneuvered correctly, could, one way or another, 2-3 moves down the road, land you the equivalent of maybe a first round pick or something like that, depending on how you move it, because of how high his level of play is going to be versus that pay. That's valuable. You know, you're not looking at it as Dennis Schroeder. No, you're looking at it as Dennis Schroeder's contract. Just like we're not looking at it as Russell Westbrook. We're looking at it as Russell Westbrook's contract. But it's inverted. Dennis Schroeder's contract's the best contract we have. That's essentially what I'm telling you. That's the best contract that we have. That's what the moral of the entire story is. Because that contract is on tab at that price, we should be able to fit all kinds of different things into our situation that maybe we would not have been able to without a player at that level, at that price. We can give up more stuff in trade because you know you have it made up on the basketball floor in Dennis Schroeder's value. Not to say that you're going to want to give up anything you already didn't intend to give up. You don't. But what I'm saying is it ain't going to hurt as much. Not nearly hurt as much. You can effectively sit Russell Westbrook if you want to. Because now you have Dennis Schroeder in place at such a small cap amount to where you can justify sitting Russell Westbrook just the same. Just as I described about 2-3 minutes ago how those contracts look to one another, it gives you the leverage on the court to not be forced to play Russell at that level because you have that other contract that gives you that balance back. Now, it ain't all the balance. You would need about 3 or 4 Dennis Schroeders at $2 million to give us fully what Russell Westbrook's taking from us in that contract. But you're giving a lot back is the point. You're getting a lot back. It's like having 100% taken and then someone throws 25% back at you. You don't love it, but you'll take it. You will take it. So that's how I'm looking at our cap situation. We got significantly more flexible by acquiring such a high level, low contract. Period. Great job, Rob Pelinka. Congratulations on one of your best signings. I'm mad at myself for not suggesting this, but I didn't think Dennis Schroeder would come at that discount. I didn't think that he would walk away not being able to get multiple years either. I did think that his talent level should be able to usurp the wackiness of his situation in the market, because it was just simply wackiness. Not only was he a victim of last year's circumstances, but he was a victim of this year's circumstances in terms of the market being dried up, so he couldn't find a regular high minute situation. The market got dried up again for him, so his prime years are being robbed from him in terms of the market just by sheer nature of the circumstances. He made one mistake, and that was betting on himself in regards to not taking that Laker contract. That was ultimately upwards of whatever it was, $100 million, whatever it was. That's the only mistake he's made. Since then, he's been a consummate pro without an opportunity to really show what he can do. So, the problem here is that there's a good chance he won't get as big of a role to show what he can do to live up to the value that he's still trying to reach for. He needs about 25, 30, even 35 minutes a game to really get where he's trying to go. And I know we don't have that for him. But he fits on this team just fine. And we have more defensive players to help him than we had when he was on the team in the first place. More defensive bigs, stuff like that should make our team just overall better around him. I do believe that we're slightly better than we were that year. So that's it's early, it's hard to tell, but we'll see. So that's how I'm looking at that. And given the fact that he's only at $2.6 million, it doesn't affect anything else that we're trying to do cap-wise. Nothing at all. It's not taken away from anything else that we're trying to do. It doesn't affect any moves we're trying to make. If anything, he just gives us more leverage in those deals, believe it or not. For those who are wondering, well, is this going to affect the Utah deal, the Indy deal, or possibly the Brooklyn deal? Not in my mind. Not with him signing on for $2 million. No, absolutely not. No. That he's signing on for minimum role player money. So we can afford to keep Dennis Schroeder throughout any moves we're trying to make. And because we have him on the team, whatever moves we make are going to hurt us as bad if for some reason they're lopsided the other way. So, yeah, this is just a phenomenal move. If I'm LeBron James, I'm really excited about what value just entered our situation. I would be very excited about that. It's subtle, but if you know what you're talking about, it's huge. It could be the difference between being a second-round team and a team that makes it to the third round, because it's that depth, that bench depth, and that cap flexibility that you're inheriting. And that's ultimately what makes you as good as you want to be. You know, a lot of times people think, oh, you have the best players in the world? Cool, that's enough. No, it's this stuff. These are the moves that make you good enough. It's this stuff. You know what I mean? It's a lot of times people, oh my God, do they have the best player? Yeah, okay, they get a role player? All right, yeah, whatever. No. No, did they find Dennis Schroeder at $2.6 million? That's the type of move to get you an NBA championship. We start talking about the San Antonio Spurs and the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, great players. What you end up finding is guys taking really, really short amount of money. Scottie Pippen, Tim Duncan. That's why them guys have all them damn championships, if you really want to know. It's because somebody took significantly less money so that they can be significantly more talented than the field as a team. That's what these type of contracts do for you. That's what Dennis Schroeder did for the Boston Celtics. That's exactly what Dennis Schroeder's going to do for the Los Angeles Lakers. He makes us a lot more deep, both on the court and flexibility-wise, which is actually on the court if you're looking at it the way it's supposed to be looked at. So, yeah, this is great. This is really great. I'm very happy about this. I don't have any problems with Dennis Schroeder coming back. Him at this price is astonishingly great for us. Um, the role that he's going to be playing is a simple role: score the ball, play cohesive defense, team defense, score. I'm not asking you to make assists and all that stuff. No, you're just a scoring guard. Do what it is you do. Slash, make a lot of free throws, hit your threes. That's it. I mean, he doesn't have to orchestrate at all. We're not going to be looking at him to play traditional point guard. We just want him to come in and slash. We want him to just come in and be himself. And I don't think that it's going to be a situation where the minutes will be there. I don't expect him to start or anything. This is not that. But he could potentially be our sixth man. Simple as that. He could essentially be the guy that gets the most attention off of the bench for our squad. And given the fact that he's been on this team with LeBron James, with Anthony Davis, that is encouraging to me. Knowing that he's played with some of these guys. He's played with Russell Westbrook in OKC. Had success there with him. So this is the type of situation where you look at Dennis Schroeder and say there's some familiarity, some things there available to him to succeed. I think he was a part of the team that Damian Jones was on. I don't remember if them 2 years crossed or not. I don't remember, but he might have been on that team that year as well. So, Dennis Schroeder, Atlanta. I think about the fact that Darvin Ham was an assistant in Atlanta with Budenholzer. I'd imagine those two tenures overlapped. I'm pretty damn certain Darvin Ham has coached Dennis Schroeder in a very prolific role because Dennis Schroeder, I'm pretty sure, was his starting point guard back then. If it wasn't him, it was Jeff Teague. Either way, those were the guys that were getting the most minutes when Darvin Ham was the assistant coach of the Atlanta Hawks, if I'm not mistaken. So he knows Dennis Schroeder's game, and that's off of the top of my brain. Not 100% certain of that, but I think so. I'm pretty certain. So, yeah, lot to be excited about if you're a Laker fan. We have some serious guard play. We have to deal with our guards. We got offensive guards, we got young guards, we got defensive guards, we got older guards, we got guards on guards on guards. So that's not going to be an issue for the Los Angeles Lakers. If anything, we need to start shaving guards off because we don't have the minutes for everybody, and that's not a bad thing at all. I look at a guy like Kendrick Nunn, I'm saying, okay, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if the role is there for Kendrick like that. Now that we've brought in Dennis Schroeder, that's his role. So it's going to be a little tricky for a guy like Walker. The minutes, they're not going to be there. Because for a fact that our guy Austin Reeves is going to eat minutes. He's going to eat minutes up. And Scottie Pippen, by sheer nature of his name, is going to garner some attention before the end of the season. He's going to be on the big team because he's Scottie Pippen's son and a boy to play some defense, and he's a hell of a passer. So that right there tells me that you're going to see Scottie too. So it's just a lot of stuff involving the guard situation. I'm pretty sure a couple of trades will clear up for us. So, yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to probably end up trading Kendrick Nunn, Russell Westbrook, probably gone. And what we'll likely do is try to continue to make moves to get our team to be at our best level. I do believe we'll make another couple moves before the start of the season to make this team make even more sense, especially since we got Dennis Schroeder at that price. Now we can really be aggressive in making our team better. So, exciting times, Laker fans, exciting times. I like our guard situation. We're a bit short now. You're bringing in Dennis Schroeder. You're bringing in Patrick Beverley. If there's any negative to that, these guys are not very tall. So when you start talking about size and how you're going to have to be attacked defensively, how teams are going to try to aggressively attack those players, that's something we need to know is coming. They're going to try to take those little guys into the paint. Now, against Patrick Beverley, it ain't going to work. Against Dennis Schroeder, it will. So Dennis is going to have to, he's going to have to not be a liability on the defensive end. If he wants to make the money that he's intending to making, he needs to be as good as he possibly can be on that side of the ball. So that's not his strength. It's not. His best defense is offense. But all I'm saying is, can't be a liability. If he's a liability, it's going to cut into his playing time because those other guards are not defensive liabilities, and that's the point. Austin Reeves ain't no defensive liability, and neither is Patrick Beverley. So if you're going to stay on the floor, if you're a guard for this Laker team, you better be ready to play some D, bro. You better be ready. So that's what I have to say about the situation. I'm very excited. So, as we said, the Lakers start their preseason on October 3rd against the Sacramento Kings. I think that's what it is. Hope it's the 3rd. I might not have that right. But nevertheless, it's the first week of October, so we're looking for some preseason basketball to kick off very soon. And we're halfway there, man. What is it, the 16th or the 17th of September? We are very close to Laker basketball being upon us. So, look alive, Laker fans. We're close. I think we're going to be a very good team this year. You can see the value. We're starting to inherit it. All we got to do is stay healthy and, of course, continue to keep our eyes on the ball. We got 2 picks and a $47 million contract that represents value in cash, basically. It represents a cash matching situation. So we can do a lot of things with Russell Westbrook's contract and those 2 picks. And I still think our eyes are on Kyrie. I still think that, even after what he posted and all of the news that's going on around his name today. You guys can go check out my video. I watched the entire thread and have my own opinion about what I saw. But at the end of the day, a part of me thinks that might be one more thing that he can kind of do to make Brooklyn sour to him. Because I do believe, in my heart of hearts, he wants out of there. I think he wants out of there. So just keep your eyes open. I hope that it doesn't. I hope that his efforts don't deter him from getting other opportunities. Yes, you're gonna maybe make it so that Brooklyn doesn't want you, but hopefully it doesn't do the same thing in regards to people who want to get you too. It didn't do it for me, but that's because I took the time to ignore the pundits and paid attention to the thread my own self. I don't know that everybody's going to do that. In fact, I think that's a very rare trait. So hopefully this doesn't backfire on Kai and keep him from being a Laker. Because Dennis Schroeder being signed after this story being out, it does make you think. But like I said, at $2.6 million, Dennis don't affect us getting anything at all. In fact, I think he helps. I think he helps a lot, actually. So that's just my point of view, man. That's my point of view. I hope everybody's still focused on what it is that can help us make the team better. Don't worry about the noise. Don't worry about the clock. Just understand that as long as we have our 2 picks in hand, there's still an opportunity for something great to happen with those 2 picks in trade. So hold out, Lakers. Wait for the best opportunity. I love what we're doing thus far. That's pretty much what I got. My name is BDO44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.